Hi everyone, this is my very first YouTube video, so I expect there to be tons of cringe and awkward moments and weird editing and whatever else that you can think of that would be typical of a very first video for a very first time YouTuber. But hello. Hello to all you plant lovers, new plant parents, and all of my fans from my other venture, if you will. Thank you for joining me over here, if that's where you're following me from, because this is going to be a little bit different. If you know me as MsLindsayM from IG, you know that I have always been about body positivity, progressive political action, plus size fashion. Those are sort of my main three. I've also done some travel and lifestyle, as I think anyone does on their personal blog. But now, my new journey, plants. And here's the thing. I want to tell you a little bit how I got started here, and then I'm going to go into, the reason you're here, probably based on the title. This video is about 5 tips for new plant parents. So, I'm gonna jump all over the place, I can tell already. This is the first time I've had a serious hobby and I dove right in. So that leads me to something else. I am on the autism spectrum and I'm very open about that on my page over at MsLindsayM. And I think what you can see here is that meant that I went deep into research. When I find a topic that I'm interested in, I will research it, watch videos about it, learn about it in every way I can, and then, go from there. So, while my plant journey is very new, very young, to be honest with you, it started only about 2 months ago, and this is a fraction of where we've ended up. So where it started, if you will, is over here. Can you see this gorgeous heartleaf philodendron? I don't know if you can see it properly. Let me lift her up a bit. This beautiful, big, long, gorgeous girl. She was first to come into the house, and that happened 2 months ago. I was checking my IG stories because you can go over to Instagram to see my early plant journey. And at the same time, I bought this fern who has a sister fern. I guess I should have probably brought my heartleaf philodendron over here if I was going to show off the fern, but that was a little bit heavier, a little bit more awkward. So that's the fern. And they started my plant journey. And basically, when they were so happy, I wanted to go deeper. So I started doing research before I bought them, because I didn't go to the local greenhouse until I knew what plants I wanted for what spot, which is going to be my number 1 tip. Just jumping right in there now. So I can admit that this is definitely something that I did in the past, where I would just have a spot. I'm staring at this big bookshelf up here, so I would just have that bookshelf up there and plop a plant up there with no idea what lighting it needed. Not really a care for what kind of watering it needed, and I just put it there, water it once a week, and go about my business. And I would kill a lot of plants. So something wasn't working. And I finally figured out that one of the number 1 things that all the experts will tell you is that you need to pick the plant for the spot. So you want to think about what kind of lighting you get in the spot, and you want to pick the plant accordingly. There are low light plants. There are highlight plants And then there's the majority. What you're gonna probably find is that most plants will come with instructions that say something along the lines of medium to strong indirect sunlight. And that's ideal for a lot of these, but some can tolerate low light and some really need a much higher light. So in terms of a higher light, for example, the fern. The fern lives in the south-facing window. It lives in the bathroom, happy as can be. Between the humidity, the heat, the sun, loves it. Now, the ZZ plant, however, that can tolerate pretty low light. Great. The ZZ raven, in theory, even lower light, okay? But something like the, just had a little brain fart, and this is actually one of my favorite babies. Like, hello, do you see these leaves? This Brazil philodendron, although I have definitely seen a lot of people call it a pothos. I'll make a video one day telling you how I differentiate between the two. And to me, this leaf, that's a philodendron. So this heartleaf philodendron over here, which I'm gonna try and get it up. Okay, I don't wanna rip any of her beautiful long strands. But okay, so this is a plant that can handle a little bit lower light. So something that you can consider. Now, again, you're picking the plant for the spot. You're not picking the plant just because you love it and you're gonna put it in a dark corner and it's gonna die. It's not gonna work. So, pick the plant for the spot. You're gonna have more success. All right? Now, tip number 2. I should have left that plant over here because that's relevant. But tip number 2 is to start easy. So start with easy plants. Philodendrons, pothos, ZZ plants. I have a dwarf ZZ over here. They're so cute. I love them. And they're very, very easy to care for. They're super easy to care for plants as long as you've got them in the right spot. So you can't forget part 1. And I just want to show you the dark ZZ, the Raven ZZ, because I just got her yesterday and I'm sort of in love. So check her out. Very, very cool. This one was from Woe Plants, based out of Ontario. I'm also in Ontario, Canada. So actually all of the shops I've done so far have been within Ontario, Canada. So pick the plant for the spot. Start easy. Start with easy plants. And I would say pothos, philodendron, ZZ plant. That's where you want to start. I should have kept this plant over here because it leads me to my next point, which is key, because as new plant parents, we tend to want to baby our new babies. And that's not always going to be good, because a lot of the time what that means is overwatering. And I would say that in particular for the type of plants that I have started to enjoy, overwatering is probably going to be the number one way that you're going to kill your plant. ZZ plant, for example, that's pretty much the only way you're going to kill your plant, is by overwatering. So they're kind of storing some water in their, oh goodness, I'm blanking on the name. Sorry, y'all. I am still new to this, so I'm going to make mistakes, but we're just going to call them stems, even though I know that's not the correct term in this case. As well as, oh goodness, there are little potatoes down here, which also have a name that I'm blanking on. I apologize for that. And they store water, so you don't need to water them very often. Something like a ZZ plant, you water like once a month. That's it. You can also get a water meter that'll really help you tell when to water things. But like, watering on a schedule is a myth. So don't assume that you're just going to water your plants every Friday. You need to check and see if that plant needs water, and only water it if it does. And then the next part, again, we're keeping this ZZ Raven here because he has all the parts we need. So keep your plant in its nursery pot. Now, this is sort of like almost, I'm combining 0.4 and 5. So I don't want to do that. But keeping your plant in its nursery pot after you receive it, either through shipment or through picking it up at a plant store, and letting it acclimatize to your house. Let it get used to its new environment, okay? You don't want to shock it. You don't want to make it go through too many things all at once. So just keep it in its nursery pot and it'll be much happier. Now, you only need to trade it out of its nursery pot when it gets too full, when it becomes root bound, when it needs more space, and then you only want to go up a little bit. Now, the other reason to keep it in the nursery pot, take you back to the water comment, is that it has nice drainage already there. So these holes at the bottom are going to ensure that the water runs right out from the plant and it doesn't become waterlogged, and you don't get root rot, and you don't kill your plant, because you don't want to do that. It's so perfect and precious, and you want it to be healthy and to live a long time, because whether you're a new plant parent or whether you've been at this for a long time, we all kill plants occasionally. But as long as you're trying, as long as you're doing your best not to, that's fine, okay? Mistakes happen, start over again. But those are my 5 tips. I guess we only need one hand. 5 tips for new plant parents. So start with an easy plant, something like a pothos or a ZZ. They will accommodate step number 2, tip number 2, if you will, which is pick the plant for the spot. So you don't want to be coming home with this beautiful plant that needs super high light and shoving it in a corner of your room where it's not going to thrive. Okay? Next, you do not want to overwater despite the temptation. I forgot to say this before, but if you really need to take care of your plants and sort of buzz around them, you can be working with a mister, which will, not saturate or put the soil too wet so that the roots are at risk. And you can also just focus on like propagating things. So that's another way to kind of spend more time with your plants. But so you don't want to overwater. You want to leave it in the nursery pot so that it can acclimatize to your house. You don't need to change it out of the nursery pot until you find that it's root bound, until it needs more space. And finally, you have good drainage, because drainage is key. Now, the other part to drainage is a little bit more complicated, and we can get into that later, but like you'll see something like my ZZ Dwarf here has really good draining, chunky soil. So that's the other part to drainage. It's not just about the holes on the bottom of the pot, although that is critical. You may see a lot of pots here that look like, they have like no holes in the bottom, but they're all just having a nursery pot inside. So that is how I make sure that they're all able to drain properly. So yeah, those are my tips. 5 tips for new plant parents from a new plant parent herself. And we're in this journey together. Like I said, I got these plants 2 months ago. And since then, Well, I think I'm almost up to 50 plants. So it's been an intense, fast journey, and I want to share with you what I've learned. And I hope you will join me by subscribing, by liking my video, giving it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and by commenting. Maybe tell me what videos you want me to cover next, what topic ideas you want from the perspective of a new plant parent, because I am not a greenhouse owner or an expert in any way. Other than that, I have done a lot of research and I want to share what I've learned with you. So I hope you will like, subscribe, comment, and stick around despite all the cringe and weird editing and everything like that. Okay. Bye, everyone.